Hello, today's video I'm looking at how I made various elements for this card made using the papers from the Gentleman's Emporium collection, which is a new collection from Couture Creations, and the hot foil stamps that come with that collection, at least the ones that I've got. So what I've got here and what I've used for this ribbon is these strip hot foil stamps. Now you don't have to use them on ribbon. There's one of them. That's the one I've actually used on the card. And there's that one there. And that one looked quite Art Deco to me. But there comes a set of 3. And they're just going to be so useful. I mean, not just for men's cards. So the Art Deco one, it's all sort of glitz and glamour, and or could be just very chic. So great set of borders. As I say, I've used them on ribbon, but you don't have to use them on ribbon. I have used them on card as well. And this really lovely corner hot foil stamp. Now it's just a hot foil stamp. It's not one that cuts out as well. So this you're using here, and I've just got some low tack glue on the back of this, just so I can keep it held still while I'm talking about it. So that goes actually onto your backing paper or your topper, whatever you're foiling. Okay, so I wanted to talk about how you get that positioned right, because if they're wonky or not matching with their distance from the edge of the paper, that's something that can be a bit of a challenge. So let me just put this back down here. So, as always, when foiling, I always suggest you do a test using the foil and the hot foil stamp and the card or paper you're going to be using before you start. And I did that with this. This was mine, okay? And for this particular foil, with this paper, with my equipment, I found I needed 3 shims, okay? So it's always a good idea to test with particular things, particularly with something like this, where if this goes wrong, you know, if I haven't got enough shims and my foiling isn't perfect, then I've wasted this huge piece of paper. Well, I'd probably, you know, cut bits of it away and reuse it, but you want to be as certain as you can that your foiling is going to work first time when you're doing your big piece of backing paper. Okay, so let's have a look at what I did. Now, there's a reason this is the size it is, and that's so that I can fit it onto my Go Press and still get it through a normal A5 size die cutting machine. If you've got a bigger die cutting machine, and I have, but I haven't assumed that for this video, you could make this piece slightly bigger, okay, and then have your paper sticking out over the edge of your Go Press and foil. Okay, so let's have a look at that one in particular first, and then I'll move on to foiling on the ribbon. So I have cut a piece of paper. Oh. Now I've only got 1 sheet each of the Gentleman's Emporium papers. I've got more of the ones that came with the Butterfly Garden collection, and it's the same quality and type of paper, so I'm using that. And because I'm using a different colourway and I want to create something that I will use in a project, I'm going to use this. Isn't that glorious? This is one of the newer foils from Couture Creations. So I'm going to be using this. So I will need to do a test. So I have another piece of paper, and actually this was cut from a 12 by 12 sheet, and then I've trimmed it. So this is the kind of bottom piece. So I might assume I'm using that for a topper, and yeah, let me trim that to a suitable size, and then I can, that's it. Well, I'm using my Couture Creations mini guillotine, and this is great. It cuts beautifully. You can see where you're cutting. It's got lots of guidelines. They're really clear. The measurements really clear, and it's self-sharpening. So this, it just gives me a perfect edge every time. I can even trim card blanks with them folded, and so long as the fold's at this end, it goes straight through. Gives me a perfect edge. So let's assume that I'm going to want to put that in that corner. So if you're just testing on a scrap, you don't need to do all this lining up, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to do it. So I am lining, I put a magnet, sort of magnet you have with a stamp press, and I've covered it in a big piece of masking tape. So it's completely sealed up. It means it's easy to pick up and move. So that goes on the back. I can adjust this if I want to, make sure it's on the edge, or I can move it a little way in from the edge if that's what I want. Okay, you might want to put it a little bit in from the edge. Okay, but I can get it in just the right place. And then on my Go Press and Foil, I can do my test. Oops. I could if my magnet hadn't got stuck. Bear with me a second. Slide these off. Didn't expect that to happen. Let me move them out of the way. Right, let me make sure that's still where I want it to go. Okay, so on the Go Press and Foil, let's open the lid. Now my Go Press and Foil is looking at its best at the moment because it's just had a new lid. The lids are replaceable, the hinge lid, so when they get very scratched or start getting a bend in them, you can get a new one. So I'm just going to line this up with the corner here because I'm doing a test. Put that up the top there. I'm going to hold my hot foil stamp down through the paper and take that off, and then I'm going to put this to warm up. And cut some foil while I'm waiting. So with this hot foil stamp, so if I take about that much, once you've done one, you've got a piece you can use as a template. Okay, and then I find the best thing to do is I kind of want to cut it diagonally. So I want the corner to come across the diagonal, but I don't go right to the corner. I come out a bit from the corner and then go diagonal. And then when I'm about halfway that way across, I'll go back there. And I think that will have given me a piece the right size, I hope. I will check in a moment. Okay, so that's saying it's warm. It is only a small hot foil stamp. So there we are. So now my foil can go on. Now be careful not to, let me just trim that a bit too big. Do be careful not to move your hot foil stamp when you're putting your foil on. I'm going to take a piece of my paper and line it up with the corner again. And I'm going to use a small piece of masking tape, and I'm sticking that to the white plastic, not to my hot plate. Okay, that will hold that in place. And then I've got a packet of shims that I keep. Quite often they're failed foiling experiments. So there I've got a double thickness and a third one. So I'm going to put that in. We'll see if that works. Okay. Put it over so it covers the foil. And I'm just going to make sure that is at temperature because I've taken it off my base while I put the foil on. if I'm not videoing, I quite often just lean over it and leave it on the base so it stays hot to put the foil on. Okay, that shouldn't take more than a few seconds. So let me turn the camera just while it's warming up. There we are. So I'm using my Big Shot Plus. There we are, that's the temperature, so I'm pull that off. I can just feel when it gets to the hot foil stamp. And then I can feel I've gone past it, and I can go back the other way. Don't think I've got the camera straight, but never mind, it's just, that's better. All pretty. So that's my test. Okay, so I'm going to take the hot foil stamp off the Go Press and get ready to do my large piece of paper. So I just use my pick and lift. Put that down there. Because now I'm going to switch to using this piece of paper. Let's take that piece of tape out of the way a minute. So this, okay, the size of this is pretty much the size of the hot plate, and I don't like putting my hot foil stamps right up against the edge. Okay, so I'm going to put this so it's lined up with kind of the outside edge of the plastic. Okay, and I'm putting some pencil marks. I just use I've got an automatic pencil, but you know, just a normal pencil, and I'm just gonna line that up where I want it and put some pencil marks on the plastic. Okay, again, not on the hot part, just on the plastic. I've got one there from a previous project. I'm just going to rub that out because it's not quite in the right place. So I'm literally using the edge of the Go Press as my guide for where my paper needs to go. And then I can put another pencil mark there. Okay, so that's what I'm going to line up with. So again, I'm going to take my corner, and I'm assuming I'm foiling in this corner, which will be the right hand one when I'm finished. Okay, so that goes, going to go on the left over there. Now if I want to foil in my left hand corner, then I need to turn everything round and line up with the other edge. Okay, and do it that way. So where's my magnet gone? So I'm going to use my magnet to line up with that edge. Okay, when I'm happy with that, I'm going to put that on here. And again, I'm using the outside edges as my guide and my pencil marks. Make sure I put this down straight, and I'm happy. Put my fingers underneath the magnet and, or the masking tape. Hold your hot foil stamp down and slide the magnet gently out of the way. So exactly the same as I did when I was doing my test. And then I need a piece of foil. No, actually I need to warm that up first. So let's do that. So back on the base, let it go click, and it's heating up. Okay, while I'm waiting, I'm going to cut a piece of foil to size. So always make sure you put both pieces of foil when you're doing this with the pretty side up, okay, because that's the way you're going to be using them. And then I can just use one to cut the other piece to size. There we are. And then that's my waist piece. That is such a pretty foil. I do like that. You can bet as soon as I move on to talking about something else, it'll go click and it'll be ready. In fact, let me put my foil on because it's had a bit of time to warm up, and then I'll let it finish warming up before I roll it. Okay, so I've got my piece of card, and I always try and make sure once I've worked out where things are going that I keep it the same way round and the same way up. There we are. Piece of foil. My piece of paper, remembering I'm lining up with the very edges now because I'm working with a bigger piece of paper. Okay, and my piece of tape can still go down at the bottom corner there. Okay, to hold that steady. And I'm going to put another piece. I've got another piece. What have I done with my tape? Another small piece at the top, because I don't want this twisting about when I put my lid down. Okay, so that's on there. I've got my 3 shims that I used for my experiment, and that worked fine, so we'll stay with the 3 shims. Close the lid and then make sure it's at temperature. There we are, that's just heating up a little bit. And then I'm going to need some more foil, so I can use this as a guide for cutting the right length. There we are. There we are. I've got a piece of foil ready for the next piece. Okay, so green light's come on, so I'm just going to roll this through. So I've rolled that. Now thing here is don't move your hot foil stamp. Okay, just leave the hot foil stamp exactly where it is. Lift up the paper, peel off the foil, and then you put the next piece of foil down straight away. Something on there. Oh, it's the tape. Oh, it's a new roll. Okay, so make sure you're doing the corner that hasn't got any foil on. Line that up exactly the same as you did previously. Take it in both places, and as you're doing that you can see whether or not it's lining up properly with your pencil marks. Shims. Now had I left this on the go press, I'd just roll it now because it would have stayed hot, but that will just briefly need to reheat. Okay, so while we're waiting for that, let me look at the ribbon. Or the other thing was, I couldn't make up my mind what I was doing the sentiment for this, so I did a selection. So we'll talk about those in a minute as well. So I've got this piece. So I've just taken a piece of the pattern paper here, and I have done some additional stamping on it because there were some stamps in this collection, because I just wanted a bit more interest, particularly some contrast behind the ribbon. So I've just matted and layered that onto a piece of the same card that's used for the card blank. Okay, and that will sit there with the ribbon, and the ribbon is just stuck at the back with some high tack tape. Okay, that's ready. So let's roll that through. Okay, so as you can see, so the fact you haven't got to line up the hot foil stamp again makes that quite quick, and it also means your corners match. Let me take that out. I'm going to take this off because I don't need it now. Now this particular hot foil stamp is not symmetrical, it's not exactly the same both corners, so that's why I've done the two opposites, because then they look right. They've got the curly bit going along the short edge. If you wanted to do all four corners, ideally you want a hot foil stamp that's the mirror image or that is symmetrical. Okay, so but it looks great, the two. It looks a bit much, I think, if you do all four. So yeah, so as you can see, they've come out and they're both, you know, each corner. Let's get the camera to focus on that a bit more. That's it. So that corner and sorry, let's try and get that corner. The camera focuses, and that corner. They're exactly the same distances from the edge, because the paper was lined up the same and the hot foil stamp wasn't moved. Okay, so watch out for that as a future project. So let's get to the ribbon. So I have here somewhere, I know I got the ribbon out. I know I got it out. So what have I done with it? Oh, there we are. I've just buried it under the card. And my hot foil stamps. So let's have my hot foil stamps back. So these are nice strip hot foil stamps. And as I say, really lend themselves to ribbon. I've got a roll of ribbon that I bought in my local hobby shop. I think it was £1 a reel. So it's just one of those things. I've got it a cream one, I've got a white one, and then I've got some wider ribbons in some various colours. There we are. And it's just a satin ribbon. It's not particularly expensive ribbon. So yeah, that's what you can do if you line things up very carefully and do it twice on a ribbon, because that's just using that one. Okay, and then I've got it on some white ribbon, and I have actually just about managed to match the pattern in the middle there. It's actually a join, so I've done it twice. There, I think they're 18 centimetres long, thereabouts. So not quite big enough to do a whole A5 card in one run. So you can join bits together. They are quite easy to pattern match. So how do I do this? Because you could, I think, kind of stick your ribbon to the ends, but I've tried that sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't stick properly. And you know, you've got heat in there and everything, and that affects the tackiness of your tape. So what I decided to do was create myself a template, which again I have buried. Oh, there it is. Oh, left it where I could find it easily. So I've got a piece of card. It's 21 centimetres long. So it's just cut from a piece of A4 cardstock. And I've cut a slot 1 centimetre from each end. Okay. So it's got a slot in it. Okay. Because I thought what I can do then is I can put my ribbon through and tape it to the card at the back. And then that will hold it still. So let me cut a piece of ribbon. I only want it a bit longer than my card. I don't want it lots longer. Again, if you were trying to match the pattern and do it continuously, you know, you could cut it longer. Okay, so then I'm going to thread all this through at that end and at that end. Okay, and I want to make sure it is parallel with the edge of the card. Okay, so just make sure that's sitting straight. If you've got a craft ruler, so this kind of thing that's got a grid on it, that's quite useful because you can put that down, line it up the edge of your card, suitable distance from the edge, and then line your ribbon up with it. So if I take that line, then I can do that, and that holds that in place. Now the trick is to put the tape on the back without moving the ribbon. Okay, so let me take one end. So I'm just going to put some tape at the back. And I'm going to pull that straight again. And I'm going to kind of put the other piece on. And I'm going to kind of stick it to the ribbon, but I'm not going to stick it to the card. We want it the other side. So I've stuck it to the ribbon, but I've not stuck it to the card yet. And then I can get my ruler. You can do this by eye if you want to. I'm just one of those people that, you know, if something's crooked, it drives me mad. So I tend to make sure things are straight. Or if I can tolerate it, I'll be making for somebody who doesn't like things crooked, like my husband or my daughter. So I've got stuck by the side. I'm also going to add some tape on the other edge of the ribbon. So I'm taping to the back of my ribbon. So if I was doing this as a continuous piece, I've not got any danger of contaminating my ribbon with something that's either going to leave a dirty mark or possibly stop foil from sticking to it. So that's on there, that's straight. It's not where the previous foiling was done, so that's fine. Okay, so then I need to decide which one of these I'm going to do. So I used this one, and I want to put that on there. And I'm just going to line it up like I would if this was a piece of card. So also, if you've got a narrow piece of card that you want to foil onto, you could do the same thing. You could treat it like a piece of ribbon, you know, cut it a bit over length and stick it down, and then you've got something bigger to handle to do your lining up and to keep in place. So let's move those out of the way, and my topper, and then the foil I use for this is the Couture Creations, what do they call it? Gold foil vintage matte finish. Details will be on the blog post. Now, I'm going to cut 2 strips for this. Okay, and then one of them I'm going to cut the end of at the end. Actually, I might do that on both, and then it doesn't matter if I get muddled up. And I'm going to cut it at an angle, and that way I'll be certain to be able to tell which end it is. Okay, because I want to be able to bring those overlapping. So let's bring the Go Press back, because the first thing I need to do is get this onto my Go Press. So I'm going to use a magnet, and because this is long and thin, ideally use 2 magnets. Okay, so that's going to go, that's on there, that's not moving. Bring over the Go Press and foil. Yep, you can see that. So then I can turn this upside down, and I want it so that this larger piece of card is up against my edge, and I'm going to line it up in the corner. In fact, my card is as long as the Go Press, so that works out very nicely. Okay, and then I'm going to hold my hot foil stamp down, take first magnet off, and then the second magnet, and then I'm going to lift up my card so that can heat up. There we go. So while we're waiting for that, let's go back to talking about how the card comes together. So don't need that. So this will be up on foam pads in the finished article. It's going to go there, and then as I say, I wasn't quite sure what to do with my sentiment, so I've used one of the cut foil and embossed dies. It's the centre part of one of the sets, and then I've stamped just with some ink, so that could go there, and that would look something like that. Let's put the camera up a little bit. Okay, or I've got like a tab shaped die for happy birthday. I could do that kind of thing. So as I say, I do this. I make a card and I think, oh, what sentiment am I going to put on? And what shape am I going to put it in? So those are foil sentiments, and this is a foil sentiment again on one of the cut foil and embossed dies. This is the inset oval nesting set. So this comes in lots of sizes and is great for putting a greeting on. Okay. So yeah, that could go on there, on there. Might do it over there a bit. Haven't really decided. And then under here, I have, and I've got one I've put on foam pads, and I might end up using this one. Again, I've used another one of the nesting cut foil and embossed dies. Mine's black, but they normally come in silver. And that's the bracket frames. And I've then put a die cut sentiment on it. Okay. So yeah, put some no tack on that, so I can line that up there. And I think given the shapes that are in this, that's probably where I'm going to go for that one. So that will be that. Okay, so back to the ribbon, as my go press has been sitting there doing its thing, heating up. So piece of foil. And my other piece of foil. As I say, I've cut the ends so that I can see which ends were the cut ones, because that's where I want to overlap. I've got a bit too much foil there. Okay, so I've got that, and I can put this back down so it's the wide side that comes against the corner. And I'm going to tape that in place. I'm going to tape it at that end, and I'm going to tape it at the other end. Just there, and then I'm just going to add one card shim. Okay, I just want to make sure that is over the hot foil stamp, so line it up with your ribbon rather than with the edge. Just need to make sure that is at temperature. So yeah, that's just coming back to temperature. My magnets came in pairs, so I've got one half of the pair on the inside of my toolbox and the other half on the outside, so when I'm putting them away they actually stick together, but with the plastic box in between. So that's just warming up. That won't be long at all. Let me turn the camera around. Ready? There we go, it's just gone click. So my ribbon is sticking out the end, that's fine. So let's see what we've got. And my shim, and my colour carrier. Oh, take the pieces of tape out of the way. If I wanted another piece, I've left that exactly where it is. So assuming I lined up in the same place on here, and I could put some pencil marks in place to help me do that, you could do another piece. There we are. Now it looks like it's got a little bit of overfoiling, but I'm going to give it a brush. Let's leave it taped while I do that. So I've just got a soft brush. That's it. And some of what looked like it was overfoiling has just brushed off the surface of the ribbon. So that's absolutely fine. Let's unstick it from the card now. And then I can just pull this out. And there we are. Let me get the camera to focus really closely on that for you. No, hang on. Okay. That's poured that length really nicely. I've made sure that my foil is kind of in the middle of the width of the ribbon. I'm really pleased with that. Okay, so that's how it's done, and then that's ready to use on my project. Okay, so let's just have one more look at the card. So when I was foiling foiling these, I tended to take a larger piece of card and foil two and then cut them out afterwards. Just found it easier with positioning my hot foil stamps. We're working with a slightly larger piece of card. And as you can see, I did one and I didn't have enough shims, or it wasn't hot enough. I can't remember which, but I had one that didn't work. Okay, so yeah, lots of options with this. So I think I will go with, camera is too low. There we go. So I think I will be going with that one. Okay, but as I say, you can foil your sentiment, stamp your sentiment, die cut your sentiment, or your frame, your tag as well. There are just so many ways of working with these papers and the elements from the collection. Just great for cards from many in our lives. Okay, thank you for watching.